Hey, welcome to Eat Your Backyard, my YouTube channel where I tell you about all kinds of edibles and subtropical ornamentals, and in today's video I want to tell you how to keep your soft-tipped yucca looking really good. It's very easy to do. Before I talk about this particular type of yucca, I want to compare and contrast this with the other type of yucca that's very common, and that's the Spanish bayonet. The Spanish bayonet and the soft-tipped yucca both produce edible petals, which are kind of bitter actually, but the soft edges can taste pretty good. But there's a difference. The soft-tipped yucca has points. Actually, when they dry, they're actually kind of pointy, but they have points that are soft, and that makes a big difference because if you get poked with them, and you will if you're anywhere near it, this isn't going to get you nearly as bad unless it pokes you in the eye. Whereas the Spanish bayonet, if that thing pokes you, it's going in like a needle, like the tip of a spear. So it's a very dangerous plant. Okay, so those are some of the differences and similarities between the two. I have the soft tip. Another thing I want to mention about both types of yucca, I know specifically with this one, is that it's very easy to propagate from cuttings. You'll see throughout the course of growing these, I've grown this for about 15 years, and along the bottom here you can see there are nubs, and here's one I've cut off. You just can cut off you could actually just break them off with your hand, break off the little shoots that grow, and then stick them in dirt and they'll grow every time, no problem. So actually it can be a problem because you can have too much. It's one of those plants that's so easy to grow. If you get in the habit of putting the shoots in everywhere, you'll have it everywhere. And this is, I think, better as a specimen rather than as a long row or a big clump. Just a specimen and keep it well trimmed. But here's what does happen. When it gets to this height, it gets difficult to get rid of these, the leaves on them. But when you're doing that, you're going to need to be aware of a few things. First of all, like palm trees that have fronds that have been down like this, I've let this one go for probably about 6 or 8 months, and it's accumulated dead fronds. It's started to look not so great. But one of the things is the critters get up in there, and I took some video to show wasp nests. I counted 2 that I could see very easily, and I bet you there are more up there. So you want to be careful as you do that. You might have them raining down. The kind of wasps I generally have in my yard are the little teeny kind that sting you, but it doesn't hurt much. It's more just like kind of itchy, irritating. But there could be caterpillars up there, and I've seen snakes that get up in stuff like that. So you just want to kind of be careful, be aware of what you're doing. The other thing is you got to have gloves. Now I use these gloves. I got them at Lowe's, and they come right up to your elbow. Anyway, they come right up to your elbow, and that's because when you're trimming and pulling at things, it could slide along your arm, and I always end up getting cuts here. So these kind of protect against that. And when you're pulling down these, I'll get one of these fresh ones. When you're pulling them down, I don't know if you can hear that, but this, if you were to slide your hand along here without a glove on, you would cut your hand open. How do I know that? I've done it by mistake. When you try to pull them down and your hand slips along the side, you'll get cuts all on the inside of your hand and along your thumb. So that can be the one drawback. You turn your rather innocent task of getting your yucca trimmed up and looking good to injuries, which like I said, I've certainly done. I also like to have the yard waste can right here, just emptied it out, so it's pretty easy. But to remove them, I take a big clump and pull them all down. Whoa, there's wasps. Yeah. All right, now I see they're the little kind. Yeah, big swarm of them came out. The little kind, so I'm going in. Yeah. All right. Not too bad. Like I said, those types of wasps are pretty forgiving. Saw about 10 of them fly out. I expect to see some more, but once you kind of scoop them out of their general area, they seem to go away. Oh, here we go. All right, so this one is close to my house, and as I remove these leaves, I can see that some shoots are growing. It's actually separated up here, and it's trying to go out into, it's like three more, maybe it's just two or three more shoots from this main stalk. Now one thing that can happen is it could grow over my house, and that's no good. I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'll get this down, but the next thing I'll have to do is to trim off some of these that are wanting to tend towards the house. And a big reason why they're wanting to tend towards the house is because I have this laurel oak tree up behind us, and it shades it, and therefore it grows into the sun. So it's pretty basic, but you know, it's like if I were to, worst case scenario, if this thing gets too close to the house, I'll just top it off here, 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 and it'll grow shoots out from those cut points very easily and come back no problem. So that's kind of the next step. So once you get past those dry stalks, it gets a little harder to pull them off. And this is where you're going to cut your hand for sure. Slide down, because you can see it really pulls and releases, and you're going to just slide right along it. But I think it's kind of a satisfying. Ooh. That's a spider. Is it on me?
No, I don't see it.
Alright, we're good. Yeah, this illustrates the situation pretty clearly. Every time I do it, this happens. You gotta be a little bit careful with the spiders, because we do have brown recluse around here, and we don't.
Oh yeah, those brown recluse are killers.
Don't want to pay that price today. Kind of got other things. Ooh, there's a little lizard. Yeah, there's all kinds of critters living up here. And then that problem's not nearly as bad once you get these off of here. Yeah, I may have to get it with the clippers, but I think most of it I can get away with just my hands. So you can see it's already starting to look pretty good. Here's the other thing. Don't skimp on removing them. You're up here, well, I'm up here in this case, and I'm getting the job done. I really want to go as high up as possible so I don't have to trim it anytime real soon. Now some of these got whacked by Hurricane Matthew, I can tell too, and it's taken a beating. Alright, so you start to see the stalk revealed, and it looks a whole lot better. I'm seeing a fresh crop of insects up here, wasps. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, this is the stalk from the flower petals that come out. They have these really cool looking white petals that grow. That's the edible part, and you know, no flowers on it this time of the year. We're going into fall, winter. But I really like the look that it gets once you clear this away. You can compare, you know, this look, first once I get it all down from these other nearby, it'll look even better. But this look with this look, I mean, there's no comparison. And alright, so I'll fill that yard waste can up. There's another wasp nest. Okay, so earlier this week, well, about a week and a half ago, I put a video out where I was at the local home improvement store and I was getting a new saw. The previous one I'd had was about 10 years old and it finally failed, got too rusty, left it outside a little bit too much. But my favorite saw by far, not sponsored by Corona saws, but I sure do like them, is this Corona pull saw. It just works so well for this type of stuff, and I have not, oh, fresh saw is a moment of joy. Got to be careful. I wouldn't handle this thing without gloves on, to be honest, just because It'll cut me much easier than it will cut everything else. So, like, anytime I pick up a saw, I remember all the times that it became more than using a saw. But look at that thing. That is the tool you want, and it cuts on the pull. It cuts on the pull, which makes it really easy. And with these long teeth here that stay very sharp even when rusty, I don't know how, it does the job. Okay, now let's look at what we need this thing for. So as I revealed the trunk here, I realized I hadn't even known that this had grown a pretty significant shoot. Now I always have to resist the urge to want to swing it like a machete, but that's so dangerous. Hardly ever works out well. Okay, so you can see it's got this side shoot. Now this is going right over my house, and that's no good. Can't have that, because all the pests and ants and everything are just going to drop right onto my house, and I kind of like to keep them outside the house. So I'm going to cut this. Now I can see it's got, actually it's interesting, it's got a little shoot here. I'm going to leave that alone because that might actually be a pretty good spot for it to grow. But this one's got to go. But what I want to do is I want to maintain the line of this trunk right through here. So I want to get it pretty close, or else it's not going to look too good, and also promote more growth. So let's see how this brand new saw does. Oh yeah, like a knife through hot butter. And now, and continue on with the job. Yeah, saw life and ladder life can end in hospital life. So I always try to be thinking, if I gotta go, and this isn't that high to be, but if I have to go down, where am I gonna jump? And what am I gonna hold on to? I used to think I was kind of invincible until the world taught me that I am not. Now, you don't have to go up this high. Like I said, I do, and because I don't want to do this again very soon. Got some ants on me. And it's going to look really good the higher up I go. I'm going to do this thing to get rid of these little pieces, make it look even better. So hey, that is a pretty good look. Ooh, and there's another little sprout here, which is growing kind of that way. Don't want that there. Just pull it right off with my finger, and that'll be fine. See the wasps flying around wondering what happened to their home. Now this thing down here, this, you might think it's too big for a cutting, but I'm here to tell you it isn't. Now I have to think through whether I want to make this, whether I want to put this somewhere in my yard or not. I know it will grow. I just pull back these leaves from it to reveal the trunk and plant it in maybe this deep, and it's going to grow every single time, no problem. But whether I have a place that it makes sense to put it, you know, they're semi-interesting. It becomes another maintenance thing, so you got a lot of things to consider. It might just end up the whole thing right in there. Take that Corona saw and just right through it, make it two pieces, chuck it in the yard waste. All right, so now I'll just keep moving on to the other two.